I gotta go fishing tomorrow on good old Toledo Bend. Where am I now? I'm walking out here to Kelly's dock. We've got the start of the Bassmaster Open tomorrow. I've kind of had this circled on my schedule, to be honest with you. Like I said, this was the first time I ever won a big regional event. Was on Toledo Bend. It was a sight fishing event, or I made it a sight fishing event. And it was one of those deals where when I was out there, all I was doing was looking the whole time. And I mean, I was looking and I don't know how many I had, like hundreds. I had hundreds of fish found. And that's what I was gonna do, was sight fish. And I didn't even think about like fishing or catching any other fish. And so I'm making this video because I feel like I'm a fairly good sight fisherman. Not only just catching fish off beds, like I understand the process. I think there's a big giant misconception in the process of whether it be catching the fish, finding the fish, how it's all going down, like what stage are they in. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I honestly right now can't tell you that I know exactly what's going on. I have no clue. It has bothered me every single time. Like it changes, my entire idea of what's going on changes by the hour. And here's what's going on. I understand the lake came up a foot, and that usually slows down the process of them spawning. When I say they're done spawning or spawning, obviously some fish have been spawned out for over a month and a half. I still think you got some fish that are going to spawn. It might take them a couple weeks too. Like the process is a giant process. Is not the same for all, right? I'm just telling you, some spawn way earlier than you ever think, and some spawn way later than you ever think. Now, the key to doing really good in an event like this, if you're going to fish that way, is like finding that area where they move up, or finding the section of the lake, things like that. Like that's the big key. The problem is when the lake came up, when the lake comes up a foot, there's a couple things that go on. One, some fish tend to still spawn like where the old bank line was, or not, or like that level of where old ones spawn, right? So if there's like an edge of grass, and it's a lot of times there's like an edge and like 2 foot, they'll all spawn either on the inside or outside edge of that grass line, right? Or there's an old bank line, or there's bushes in the water, things like that. Well, when the lake comes up, a lot of those fish don't move up with the water. They just continually spawn where that's at. And a lot of times, you know, if there's 3 foot of clarity, right, they'll spawn around 2.5 foot, maybe even 3 foot, maybe even 4 foot. And then if the lake comes up a foot, almost even the shallow ones are hard to see. So you got the lake coming up, then it made it super off color. And so now you don't get to look at the lake as a whole. The lake as a whole, you don't get to judge it. So right now I'm only getting to judge any part of the lake that's clear, which there's not much of it. So even like right here, you can maybe see at the most, I don't even know if you can see a foot down. So are there fish on beds? Are they not? I don't really know. And then the other places, what confuses me, I'll go into some places where I can see 4 foot. I can see old beds, and I'll go down for an hour, maybe not an hour, like 30 minutes, which is a long time on Toledo Bend, like in known areas. I don't even see anything. The other part is, not only do I not see anything, I went to places today because the wind stopped blowing. I don't even see any beds. And I'm like, okay, well, so they haven't started here. But that doesn't make any sense because it's April. And so then I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. If they haven't started, they're going to push up, but you would see males, but you don't even see any males. Well, if they've already spawned, you would see fry and old beds, but you don't see any of that either. And then so it's like, okay, well, maybe they're spawning deeper here and we just can't see them. And maybe the beds are, maybe they're not, Maybe they're just spawning on sand. I mean, and then I'll get some places where it's crystal clear and they're spawning in a foot. Like they're not deep. In some places they're deep. Like, and there's not very many of them. And so I'm like, okay, everything tells me that they haven't pushed yet. But then you got guys out there catching them in like deep, like big schools of them out there deep. And they're like, everything they catch is post spawners. And I went over that the other day about how, you can't really judge where it's at in the spawn based on what you're catching, right? Because maybe that's just the pattern to catch post spawners. The shad spawn started up north, but it hadn't started down south. And usually they're still spawning when the shad spawn's going on. The water is only when it's been 63 degrees with no sun, and it finally got up to like 65, 66 today, which means it's plenty warm enough for them to spawn, but there's been no sun. And so the more I look, I'm just like, I think they're done. But nothing tells me that they should be done. The water temperature, not seeing them, where I'm seeing them, but could it go both ways? I'll tell you the other thing. My buddy, they're catching them on other lakes that they are further south that are way warmer than this. They smashed on them yesterday, big ones. And then there's lakes all around here that everyone's seeing them at. Like, I don't understand why I can't see them here. It's very frustrating. I was so excited about this. Are you going to learn anything from this video? I don't know. Because it's such a hard thing because it matters. Everyone, when I do these videos, everyone's always worried about the bait, right? Like tip videos, a tip video here and spots and things. So much, in my opinion, is knowing what's going on, right? Like understanding the phase of you can just go out there and be dumb and just go like, I'm just going to go graph around. I don't really care what phase they're in. And maybe you find some fish out there, or maybe you just go around there and get lucky and find some fish on a frog, or flip bushes and you just run into some fish because that's where you're going to me, that's not what I want. That's not how you do good year after year, tournament after tournament, or just fishing after, like learning the process and learning what's going on. Because then when you do get fish, when you do figure them out, you can dial it in and run all over this lake and figure it out. Like I've got a small pattern to do that of just fishing. So I've got some fishing stuff going on, but very little. And I haven't wanted to do it. The reason I haven't wanted to do it is because I've had so much success sight fishing over here. And you kind of have to pick your poison. And the problem is, the biggest problem is, I think the really good fishing shallow is way up north, but that's the muddier water and I can't sight fish any. And every day I find at least one decent one sight fishing that can go a long ways for me. I found a couple big ones yesterday. I couldn't have got any of them to bite, but luckily tournament won yesterday. I was looking at it for tomorrow. So, I mean, they've had a day, and even tomorrow, or even Friday, I might not even have to catch them till Friday to lock on and to get right. So I'm boat 16 tomorrow, and I wanted an early boat number because I had a fishing spot, and not a spot, like an area. I wanted to go through it first. At least if I go through it first, I think I can catch. I shook off a big one in there on a frog on my pad perch. It's usually... And I fished it real fast and didn't really show it to him. And I've kind of got that dialed in. I want to try to catch. Every day I go out there, I get at least one good bite doing it. Some days I get 2 or 3. Like the first day I caught a 5 and a 7 and a 4. I had 2 4s. I only set the hook on a 7, but that's a long story. I'll show the video of this 7-pounder. Maybe I'll show it in another video. It was on a bed. I thought it was a grinnell. And if y'all ever, I'll explain the whole deal, but I thought it was a grinnell. It ended up being a 7-pounder, or I would have never set the hook. I watched the whole thing go down. But yeah, I don't know. This is going to be a weird one. I've kind of accepted the fact that it's not what I want it to be. And I'm hoping I can just piece some things together, and maybe by Friday it gets better. or Saturday if I make the cut Saturday. If not, I'm going down to Palestine. Russell's on Palestine practicing. So either way, I'm still fishing Saturday and Sunday, no matter what happens. But the spawn, man, like this time of the year, and with this crazy weather we've had of being cold and hot, and it's just cloudy every day. I mean, that's the first time we've almost seen blue sky, and it's not much of it. It's just cloudy every day. I don't think them fish like that. I know they don't. They don't act right when it's like that. Sometimes it's pretty good for fishing, but for them on beds and acting right, I think if it got sunny, I think the fishing would like kick off big time. Just regular fishing too. I think they like the sun this time of the year. At least it's gonna be like this. Nice. Toledo's looking good right now in the sense of it's calm, it's nice, and I think it's gonna be pretty. All right, I'm about to go get all my stuff rigged up, and yeah, wish me luck, guys. All right, we're out. Hopefully I got, man, if I do pretty good, I'll make another video, drop it on Friday, let y'all know what I did, because by then I don't think anyone will even pay attention. They won't even be watching. All right, see y'all.